We're alive.
All right. Well, welcome to a special Friday the 13th semi-late show. We're not as late as we usually are, thank goodness. I mean, it's not bad, but, we were able to get an early night in. We got our booze. We have researched and watched our movies, which we are going to talk about. Since it's Friday the 13th, we're going to talk about the Friday the 13th movie series. All, 15 to
12.
20 of them?
There's
12, yes.
12 films in the franchise, oddly. For a series.
Maybe it just feels like 15.
Yeah, it feels like it's more. But anyway, yeah, well, we're going to talk about this classic 80s slasher movie that I grew up watching, mainly peeking around the corner when I wasn't supposed to be watching them. My older sisters would rent them on VHS quite a bit, and of course, it seemed like there was one out every year. So
there was almost one out every year.
Yeah, so they were always watching them, at slumber parties and whatnot. So I still had a steady diet of horror movies at a young age when I wasn't really supposed to.
That's what's wrong with you.
Yeah, that's what's wrong with me. That's why I was so nervous as a kid. It was all the
all
horror
your anxiety
movies.
Makes sense now.
Yeah, but anyway, it's a fun franchise. I'm here. I'm sorry, I get to rambling because I have had a few sips beforehand, so please forgive me. I am here with the ever so delightful Cody, my co-host.
Oh, well, thank you. I didn't know I was always so delightful, but I will try.
Yes, always.
I will try to stay delightful through this whole chat.
Well, no pressure. You just
no pressure. I mean, we've never been in like sour moods, So we've all been delightful. But and I'm here with my beautiful wife, the ever so awesome researcher, because she finds out a lot more about these than I do. I'm just,
It's a coping mechanism for the anxiety these movies give me. I have to have some paperwork to do, some secretarial business to tend to, so that I'm not afraid later when I have to go to the bathroom by myself in the dark.
And if you heard barking, that is my dog probably complaining that I played several of these movies in the background today while I was working. He probably was like, why are we watching this stuff?
Yeah, like, no, Dad, no. I'm sleeping in your room tonight.
It's too early in the morning for this.
Yeah. But yeah, we I grew up watching them. It had been a while since I binge watched any of these. So last year during October of 2020, when we were just stuck at home, and we still are basically, we decided to go through, and we were like, we're going to alternate. We're going to watch Freddy Krueger, we're going to watch A Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th, and we'll alternate, and we'll go back and forth, and then we'll culminate with Freddy versus Jason, and it'll be awesome. But we ended up stopping about halfway, so we got to...
There's just so many. There's no way we were going to finish all of it.
Because we have staples that we have to get in during October as well, so we had to make room for those. But I think this year we're going to start... we've talked about it. I think we're going to start about mid-September with our horror movies, because I know we want to start the Halloween series and watch as many of those as we can. I don't know. There's some new franchise that I'd like to get into, an older franchise.
So let me ask you. You said you were going to alternate. Do you prefer this franchise because it's mostly consistently the same? I know fans of the franchise will argue that they're supremely better films, but in my opinion, there's the slightly more entertaining ones, and then there's just the bad ones in this franchise. Whereas
where they just stopped caring after,
Whereas the Nightmare on Elm Street, there are some really solid films in the franchise, and then it just kind of goes bad. Which one do you prefer? Do you prefer like the high marks but some really low marks, or do you prefer this where it's kind of like just on an even field?
I think as a franchise, Nightmare, you're right, had the more consistent. Like it felt even their low marks weren't as low as some of these Friday the 13th movies, like towards the end. Like the Freddy's still had kind of a solid, even with the cheesy ones after Dream Warriors. It's still like it got cheesy, but not as cheesy as some of the Jason movies did. Like the Jason's movie just went full camp.
I think also people find the character of Freddy Krueger and Robert Englund's performance entertaining, even though he's a horrible child murderer, because he has a personality, whereas Jason's just a lumbering 7-foot man in a hockey mask who apparently wants teenagers to not do what teenagers do.
Yes. Yeah.
He's like a super aggressive, like abstinence only sex educator, Jason is. Whereas Freddy Krueger's kind of sassy, and he does have like many layers to his horrible personality.
Well, everybody knows that if you have sex and do drugs,
you die.
You're gonna die. I mean, those are death sentences in horror movies.
And if you grow up in the Bible Belt, that's just what you're told by adults for a long time.
Yeah, I'm surprised that the parents didn't advocate for this behind the pine curtain. Like, oh no,
we're required watching.
It's Sunday school, kids, but we're gonna watch this movie called Nightmare on Elm Street, and this is what happens. But
it's got a very important moral message.
This is what happens when you sin. This boogeyman will come and get you.
I find it extremely fascinating how popular this franchise was when it initially started as a ripoff of Halloween. It's like, what can we do to replicate that movie's success?
Hey,
but make it even cheaper.
I did like that twist. Like with the first one, it's not Jason Voorhees.
The first one is solid. It's great.
His mother. Yeah, it's his mother. The one.
It's very scary.
Yeah, that one's solid. And I admit it's not as good as Halloween, but as its own film, even though it did borrow the concept, I think I like it.
I haven't seen any of the Halloween movies yet.
Well, that's why we're gonna watch them. We'll probably start about.
I know, man. We'll my sleep hygiene is going to be great. I'll just be shaking all the time, too terrified to sleep between now and Christmas.
So I also enjoy the original. Now, I'm not of age to have seen the original to know that Jason wasn't in the movie as the killer, because growing up, even as a small child, I remember people dressing up as Jason for Halloween and like having the machete that like had the fake blood in it and stuff. So I didn't know this until I saw the movie Scream, which is kind of what got me into horror films. And then I was like, oh, Jason's not the killer in the first movie of his franchise?
Right.
It's kind of a Dr. Frankenstein and Frankenstein's monster situation where like it's part of the Jason film franchise, but it's not really about him originally. Like she's such a good killer that I don't really like the rest of them because it is Jason. I think his mom is way scarier than he is.
Well, for sure, especially when she's doing that like little kid voice. I don't know if she's like being possessed by his spirit or she's just gone crazy because she lost her child.
Yeah, she seems way too real. Yeah.
I think it just broke her.
That's why she's scarier. You could see that happening to someone.
Yeah.
And also, even though it feels a little Scooby-Doo-ish at the end with like revealing it's an old person as the murderer.
Hey, that's a pretty solid Scooby-Doo though.
Right.
But it is interesting that, like, at the end of that movie, it's the corpse of child Jason that the final girl, like, he drags her under. But then by the sequel, he's a grown man and over 6 feet tall.
Yeah, how does that
Well,
work out?
that
What
ended
kind of
up-
vitamins are in
well,
that lake water?
She woke up and she woke up in the hospital, so it implied that she had a dream. She had a bad dream.
Right.
So by the second one, you could it could make sense that he was there the whole time. Maybe the mom knew that maybe she was taking care of older deformed Jason that was not all there, near death and deformed or whatnot.
Like, instead of him actually dying, like, she was like mourning the life he could have had if he hadn't had an accident.
Like she kept him not only as her baby, but as this freak hidden away. And then she starts killing, because she's broken in the mind, and then he kind of takes up after her after she's gone. I could see something like that. I mean, that's the way I kind of took it, or that it implied. And now I've heard, it gets into the supernatural aspect and all that later on. But who knows? Like,
there's definitely room for interpretation there, because there's no like real hard canon that any one film follows from the others, other than the big tall guy.
This isn't Seven, so I mean,
Right. And I think that's why I'm not such a huge fan of this franchise too, is that there's like no really continuation other than Jason's body count grows, because we don't really get characters that carry over. Like, here's a new set of teenagers to kill off. Now there are exceptions as we get down further film to film that they have a few continuing characters, but for the most part, is like just replicate. Yeah, that word. The formula.
Yeah.
Replicate the formula of the original and just do it again. Horny teens at a summer camp, they get murdered.
The formula works. We just keep using the formula until everything falls apart.
Well, talking about summer camp, that resonates with me. And especially growing up, because I was in the Boy Scouts and we went camping once a month, and it was out in the woods somewhere or a park around here. We also had Camp Pirtle over on Lake Merval, which is about an hour from here. So we were always over there, and that had the layout of Camp Crystal Lake. It's right off of the lake, and it's got a boathouse and all these creepy, horrible places that
you could definitely picture being murdered.
Yeah, you could picture being murdered out there.
So when you were walking in the woods, did you hear?
Oh man, especially when I got older, I would staff there. So somebody would bring a portable TV, and we would all pile up in the staff lounge and watch these, Jason movies and stuff. So yeah, it would freak you out, 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning walking back to your campsite, and of course you're hearing everything and seeing shapes, and it definitely plays with you, even though they're cheesy. And that's when I was younger. Nowadays it'd be more fun. I'd like to go out there and play hide and seek,
and traumatize your children by jumping
out. Would you be hockey mask Jason, or would you be like Jason in the second movie and just wear a potato sack over your head?
Man, I like both of them. Like, they're both iconic. Like the potato sack is terrifying because, again, I don't know. It's a potato
so
sack.
Terrifying. You see that on other like scary villain characters and other franchises in media.
Yeah, I will tell you.
Potato sacks are terrifying.
Overalls on a potato sack is something you'd see around East Texas.
Yeah.
So,
a homegrown monster.
I'm gonna get you with this.
It's been a while since I've seen part 2, but correct me if I'm wrong. He doesn't really use a machete in that one either, does he? Does he use an axe in that one?
I think he uses an axe and
whatever's around.
Maybe I think a pitchfork is one. Yeah.
He's not married to the machete, really.
And then, we did get to witness, like, before we stopped it, Because again, we were watching New. I think that's what it was. New Blood.
The New Blood. Yes.
The New Blood.
There's
We
some
got to see one of my
spiders in here.
favorite kills. Is
That's the sleeping bag one.
the sleeping bag kill. Yeah, I was like, oh, that's awesome.
You're a monster. You're a monster.
You know what? You get to do that in the video game too, which is pretty awesome.
The
Like,
video game is fun. As much
Yeah.
as I am not like a scary movie person,
you get to
looks
hide.
really
Yeah, you
fun.
can hide under the bed, and as Jason, you can walk. If you suspect under the bed, you can stab to the bed and get them. And it's awesome.
So I went out and rented the original when I was far too young to rent it. I don't know how the video store clerk must have not cared, because I rented that in the original Halloween after watching Scream. But I think I saw part 2 and part 3 on Monster Vision with Joe Bob Riggs as like a
Nice.
marathon.
Yeah,
But I
they
couldn't
used to
stay
play
up
'em.
to watch like the whole marathon. I like fell asleep after part 3.
Yeah, man, that's back when I could power through a whole night just watching Monster Vision and Star Trek, and now I'd be dead. But yeah, we used to marathon them back in the day. They were, I mean, and we get like past the second one and we'd be out. We'd be passed out there, and then have to return on the next day. Be like, we didn't get to all of them.
So I know a lot of people. I don't remember all the details because it's been a while, but I know a lot of people like the final girl in part 2. Like that's one of the favorite characters. I don't even remember this person's name. I just remember there's like a gnarly a kill with the guy in the wheelchair from that movie.
I'm trying to remember that character's name now because.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Oh, Crispin Glover's dance too.
That's in part 4, which I think is
That
the
4. Yeah.
the final Friday, which I think is the best Friday the 13th film in my opinion.
Really? Is that because of Crispin Glover's dance?
I mean, that doesn't hurt it, but also I like that it focuses on, which starts the whole Tommy Jarvis, the only really continuing character besides Jason, and it's played by Corey Feldman as a young preteen boy who likes monsters and monster movies, so I kind of like
Yeah.
that aspect of it.
Yeah,
And
that
I
was
also
cool.
think
I remember that.
Jason is the scariest in that one of all the movies to me.
Yeah.
And
Tom
Tom Savini came back and did the makeup.
Yeah. Because I remember towards the end, he shaves his head and gives him like a patch haircut and does his face up to look like Jason. And then at the end, he gives his sister the hug and like looks at the camera. So you're like, oh, so he's going to be a little psychopath now, which would have been interesting to continue that with Corey Feldman and have him like pick up Jason's mantle, you know?
Yeah, that's not the only slasher franchise that has teased that sort of thing and then not happen. Halloween also did that, and then was like, no, we can't do that. We can't have a child running around murdering people.
I have seen the first 3. I have not seen past 3. And I watched those back on VHS. So rewatching them will be like rewatching them for the first time almost for me.
Well, we've got to talk about Halloween 3 because I think that is a criminally underrated movie, and I think people give it crap just because it's called
Season
Halloween
of the
3.
Witch.
Yeah.
I've heard about that one, and I know it's not centered on Michael Myers, but these Halloween masks. So yeah, I always thought that one was pretty interesting. Matter of fact, I may have watched that one on Monster Vision.
I wouldn't be surprised. But I didn't find out today till you posted that today is the 39th anniversary of Friday the 13th Part 3, which is iconic because it's the film that Jason first dons the hockey mask.
Yes, and I like that one. I think it's a fun movie because they filmed it in the old style 3D during that back around because they had Jaws 3D. Orca might have been in 3D. I'm not 100% on that one, but there was like a resurgence of 3D movies
in the 80s. Yeah.
And Friday the 13th 3D was one of them, and I bought it on DVD when it was released, and it even came with 2 little 3D glasses, which was cool because they look like Jason's hockey mask. And so I watched it in 3D, and it's just a fun movie. Getting to see the cheesy 3D effects and stuff like that.
If I remember right, there's a pretty cool kill with bow and arrow, which they mimic in the remake. And then there's one where he kills a guy on a handstand or something.
Yes, he's doing a headstand, and it splits right down the middle. And then now the bow and arrow was a spear gun. Which, why would they need a spear gun at a lake? Who knows? But where he's on the dock and he shoots it, and she's like out in the water, and it comes like straight at the camera. That was a really cool kill.
Yeah, so I think these first 4, whether you love or hate these movies, they're all pretty much of the same various degree because they're kind of all the same movie, so to speak. So those are probably the core of the franchise to me, if you had to say like those first 4 films.
Yeah, because again, it's kind of like it does mimic the Freddy franchise and the Halloween franchise. Like after the first 3 or 4, it was moving into the mid to the late 80s, and that's when a lot of that stuff just became camp. Like they were making the movies aware of themselves and how campy they were. So, the acting declined, the production declined. A lot of these look like they could have gone straight to video and probably would have done just as fine.
Well, I mean, obviously it did because kids are dressing up as Jason. So obviously people are not finding him scary, which I don't find him really that scary. He's just a hulking, breathing machine that apparently, well, he does run. He's not quite like Michael Myers just strolling around while he catches up to you.
Gotta get some things done. There's a lot of kids to kill in one movie.
Right.
Gotta pick up the pace in between murders.
But
sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, since we already talked about part 4, unless there's something else you wanted to bring up about 3 or 4.
No,
I just watched for the first time part 5, which is called A New Beginning. If you haven't seen it, Lindsay, I'm gonna spoil it for you.
Please spoil it.
We did New Beginning because A New Blood is after A New Beginning, right?
Is it?
No, there's Jason Lives in between those 2.
Hold on.
Okay, so because we stopped right before Manhattan.
Okay.
Because it's Jason.
So a lot of people hate New Beginning, and it's not good. And a lot of people, a lot of people hate this one because Jason's not in it.
That's right.
At all. It's a copycat killer.
Yeah. Because remember,
and the whole time you think it's Tommy going crazy because it continues. Tommy, now he's a teenager.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess is mentally scarred, has PTSD from witnessing Jason murder all these people, which you would have.
Of course.
You would have PTSD, but he goes to like this group home in the country for children.
Yeah.
Those are things. They're horrible places, but they're real things.
I was watching that and I was like, yeah, let's give him like hose and picks and stuff.
Yeah, like there's a kid chopping wood. Like, is this kid mentally stable? Why are you giving him an axe to chop wood?
No, these are a real thing. There are homes for troubled teens out in the Midwest, and especially like in Utah and South Dakota. Paris Hilton just came out and talked about when she was there. It's literally like a prison for children, and a business front for horrible abuses. Those are real places, and definitely not somewhere you're going to send a child who's already struggling with severe PTSD and whatever other problems have occurred. Like, I want to say it was Paris Hilton and I don't think Lindsay Lohan went. There was another
Kat Von D.
Kat Von D. She got sent there by her parents, and they like didn't let these kids leave. Like they'd be like, "Oh, you're gonna go for a couple of weeks and then you'll come home," or it's like summer camp. Mm-hmm. And they ended up being there for like a year or 6 months, or just like you can go on YouTube and look up testimonials from kids who have been places like this. That's so weird that would be in a Friday the 13th movie, and that was actually happening and still happening that I know of. I know the company that was originally in charge of the home that Paris Hilton went to, they were like, "Oh, well, we're under new ownership as of a couple of years ago. So whatever happened then, that doesn't have anything to do with us anymore." Conveniently, but I think there's still kids coming out of these programs talking about like nothing has changed and they're all terrible, horrible like work camp situations for kids.
Well, maybe there are places like that.
I guess so. I was not aware. Thank you for educating us on
for
that.
Really ruining that even more, that movie.
Yeah.
But I mean, I guess I gotta give them props for trying something bold for a hugely popular franchise, because they advertised in Part 4, it's the final Friday, we're killing Jason off.
Right.
They're like, we make too much money because these movies don't cost that much to make, and we make our money back, which is standard for most horror films in general.
Yeah.
Kids will pay to go to this movie and make out in the back seat. They're still getting their money, though.
Which, that's a weird plot thread in this movie. There's a angry old lady and her weird son, and she's going to shoot these kids if they don't stop coming onto her property and fornicating.
Oh my gosh.
Sex or drugs, man. You're gonna die.
Or violence. It has to be one of those.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a copycat killer because his son ends up getting killed, and he decides to take it out on everybody else that's involved.
I think since they really thought it was going to be the last movie, they were like, okay, nobody's going to suspect taking the plot from the first movie and wrapping it up. Like, in the first movie, it wasn't Jason. It was his mom. So in this movie...
You think it's Jason?
You think it's Jason, but it's going to be Tommy. And they were like, this will be a huge twist. But nobody wanted that. They want Jason.
And they kept wanting Jason. And that's why there's so many of these movies.
Yeah, they were like, we want the mountain that kills people. So...
Well, that being said, we talk about these getting more campy, more self-aware, less scary. I actually find Jason Lives Part 6 quite fun because it's self-aware and like knows how ridiculous and stupid these plots are and these situations these people get themselves into. Like, I think it's the right amount of self-aware, and it's a fun movie. It's not as cleverly done as, say, something like the Scream franchise, but I think it's kind of fun, and it's probably the last good Friday the 13th movie, in my opinion.
Yeah, after that, even with this one, because this one, like you said, it's fun, but it goes overboard on the camp. Like, they start taking it into campy territory, and they know what they're doing
because it's a money machine. You just gotta
they're gonna milk it,
push the buttons. And
well, I mean, they have an opening that mocks James Bond, and I think they have Jason throw the machete or something.
Yeah,
and the sheriff is Sheriff Carpenter.
Because after this one is the one we just watched, which is New Blood, and that one, like, up until now, I was like, okay, they're campy, but they're fun. I'm kind of digging these. This one was straight up bad. Like, I'm watching it, and I'm more MST3K'ing it than anything.
Oh, Chris, if you think New Blood is bad, you have so many things to...
Now I remember watching.
Is this Jason in Outer Space? Is this the movie I
Takes-
can't wait to talk about? I
yeah.
haven't seen it, but I probably won't watch it because it looks horrible.
Takes Manhattan
It's horrible.
is one of the ones that I remember my sisters renting, and
Is that,
I set up and watched it, and
is that the one where they get from Crystal Lake to the
yeah.
Atlantic Ocean in a boat and like
yeah,
never explain how that works? They're just like, yep, they're there.
Yeah.
That's it. That was the trip.
That's an interesting senior trip too. We're gonna take a ship and cruise to New York City.
oh yeah. Now,
But they're only in New York
Super
City for
camp.
like the last 15 minutes of the movie. It's
Right.
basically Jason's Wild Boat Ride.
yeah,
That'd be a cool attraction at Disney. They should do that for Halloween.
this one was like
And-
Revenge of the Nerds meets Jason.
And what's weird, because I just watched this one for the first time too. I was like, all right, I'm going to watch the ones I've never seen before. And yeah, this one's not good. And then he gets like toxic ooze thrown on him at the end and he turns back into a child.
Oh, I don't remember that part.
What,
Oh
what,
man, now we gotta
what?
watch it.
Oh man.
And then there is a cool scene where he kills some guy, like they fight and he like drop kicks him or something. I can't remember. Like I think he kicks his head off or something.
Fantastic.
On the rooftop, I think.
But yeah, part 7, which everyone says Kane Hodder is the best Jason, which maybe he is, but his movies are not the best Friday the 13th movies, and he's the only actor. He's the only actor to play the character more than once. But New Blood, which is not good, which is Jason versus Carrie, basically, is a
Yeah.
masterpiece compared to the other 3 Jason films that Kane Hodder did.
Yeah, I remember seeing I remember Jason X, but only bits and pieces of it. I watched it on Showtime back in the day, and yeah, I don't remember a whole lot about it.
I bet Jason X is a very 2001 movie if you watch it.
Oh,
For
yeah.
sure. It's a very 2000 movie.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
And what's funny is that John Carpenter, when they demanded they wanted Halloween sequels, because he hated writing the script for Halloween 2, and they're like, we want a third one. And he's like, I'm not doing Michael Myers unless we put him in space, just being silly. And they're like, you can't put him in space. And he's like, well, I guess
Well, can't write it then, because that's the story I got.
and then Jason went into the Friday the 13th franchise, did it. But before that, because Jason Takes Manhattan was the lowest money maker of the franchise and basically almost killed the franchise, so to speak.
Yeah.
Paramount, I guess, sold it off or just didn't have any interest in making them anymore, even though they churned out 8 movies in a decade. So I guess they milked that for what they could.
I want to say the people who had Freddy bought the rights.
Yes, New Line Cinema bought it.
Yeah.
That is why at the end of Jason Goes to Hell, you see Freddy's claw grab the hockey mask and pull it down to hell.
Okay, that right there was an awesome shot. I don't care. That movie sucked, but that right there was the coolest part of that movie because that was the Aliens versus Predator moment. That was what horror fans had wanted for years. Was like, oh my god, a Freddy versus Jason. How awesome would that be? That was like seeing the alien skull in Predator 2.
Yeah,
that was a big
how many
deal.
movies to get there?
Yeah, it took like another 10 years for it to happen.
another 10 years to actually happen, even though both franchises pretty much were dormant in that 10-year time span. The only other cool thing about Jason Goes to Hell is there's a brief shot of the Necronomicon in the movie.
Nice. I did not know that.
Which we never got that Ash versus Freddy versus Jason. Probably because Bruce Campbell was like, oh, I get to kill Freddy and Jason. And they're like, well, you can't really kill them.
Well, we did get to see it in comic book form, which is awesome.
Yeah, it's in comic book form.
We had those at our comic book shop, and they were a pretty good seller. That was pretty popular back when they came out.
But as ridiculous as 7 and 8 might be, and as ridiculous as 10 is, Jason Goes to Hell has the FBI starts off by setting Jason up as like a FBI agent, takes a shower to lure him out because everyone just takes random showers in the Friday the 13th series. Like,
Right.
for whatever reason. Oh, I guess I'll just take a shower now.
You gotta, when you're making one of these, there have
Stick
to be naked bodies. You gotta make sure there's a weird shower.
Stick a blonde chick out there.
And
have her
so
take a shower. He'll show up.
the FBI brutally murder Jason. His body is in pieces, but somehow he survives and body swaps different bodies throughout the movie, which is weird. And then they create a whole new backstory where he has sibling and a niece, and only they can kill him. And yeah, it's bad. There is an interesting character. I forget the character actor's name. He plays some sort of bounty hunter guy that's trying to kill Jason.
Yeah,
but I know there's probably people that like
Friday the 13th.
I know there's people that like all these movies to some degree, but it's stupid.
Yeah, I like the character and I like the concept and I like about the first 4 movies. But man, after that, it's like Freddy. I like the concept, I like the character, but
yeah,
I really only like about the first 4
I don't
want to
poop
the ones after that.
I don't want to poop on this because I know it has a loyal fan base, and I do like some of these films in this franchise.
Yeah, I'm not bashing on it. Like I like them
but Nightmare on Elm Street took the formula and did something different with it. It like elevated the slasher.
They were a little gorier. They were more sadistic.
Well, they took it into the dream world for one thing. They came up with a really cool concept. They decided, like, well, what if the killer actually had a personality?
Right.
You know, they changed the genre and did something different with it instead of just kind of replicating what worked in a different movie. And then but that being said, Halloween is not wholly original, and technically the original Halloween's not really a slasher movie, even though it created that genre. You could argue Black Christmas came out before it, which I recommend that movie, the original, because not only is it a unique take, the cops actually listen to the people and try to do their job right. The main girl is not a so-called good girl, so that's interesting.
Not realistic. I don't think so.
It's very good. And then, of course, all these movies are inspired by Hitchcock's Psycho and Peeping Tom. So, you know, everybody's copying somebody else.
Of course.
There's adding elements to it.
That being said, as dumb as Jason X or Jason in Space is, even though David Cronenberg has a small part in it, I actually kind of have fun with Freddy versus Jason.
I do too. I really enjoy that one because, again,
is it because Freddy's there and he's making all those sassy little quips and
like
puns?
People waited years. I worked at the theater when that came out, and it was fun getting to see people show up. And they either had a Jason shirt on, or they had a Freddy shirt on, or a mask, or it was like both fandoms coming in to watch it together. And that theater stayed packed. During the weekends that movie was out. Like it was popular. I don't think it did well box office wise, but from what I could tell, man, a lot of the fans came out of the woodworks to watch it because
I think it's one of the higher grossing Friday the 13th films. And I wonder how Friday the 13th fans feel about it because it's more of a Nightmare on Elm Street movie with Jason in it.
It is, but
he's a featured artist on a Freddy track.
The way they
being about both of them.
Yeah, the way they did it was clever though. I like the story and the way that Freddy was like, "Hey, I need you're gonna wake up and go to M Street," but he was playing. You know, he pretended to be his mom in order to scare the children, so that way he could become strong enough to come back. But he starts going wild and killing all the teenagers, so he's got to come out and like stop them because he's not going to have
doing what
any.
he was told.
Yeah, he's not going to have any teenagers left to come out of the dream world, and so I thought it was pretty clever and well done. You know,
I mean,
thought it was
Freddy
good.
still has some cringe-worthy jokes, like when he sees Kelly Rowland, he goes, dark meat.
Yeah. Well.
Oh yeah, like
he is also a child murderer, so I don't expect him to have like any layers of like social awareness or anything like that.
yeah,
He
like
literally kills children in their dreams, so
he's supposed
probably
to
going to be a
hated.
bigot in more ways than one.
I'm saying there's still some of those jokes that you're like, okay. But I think for what it is, two basically monsters fighting each other, it's exactly what you paid your money to go see.
Right.
Though if you're a fan of either franchise and you don't like this movie, I wouldn't be like, oh, I don't know why you don't like it. I totally understand why you don't like this movie.
Yeah.
Not like it's good, but I have fun with it.
But it's not like the others that led up to that were good either. I mean, I think it was a better culmination than the last couple of movies from each franchise, you know. Although you could say the Freddy's were decent up until then. I like Freddy's Dead.
You like Freddy's Dead? I think Freddy's Dead is terrible.
Well, no, even Wes Craven's New Nightmare was a
Wes Craven's New Nightmare is very good. I will fight everyone on that hill. It's a very good movie. And it was meta before he did Scream, so it's like a test for Scream.
Yeah, it was different.
And it's actually scary.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I really like New Nightmare. I would say it's the second best in my opinion. I know I'm probably the only person that would say that. I think most people would say Dream Warriors is the second best Nightmare movie.
Doesn't Dream Warriors sound like a cartoon that was on in the 80s? Like, that inspired the Sky Dancer toys or something? Like, it doesn't sound like it should be a scary movie installment.
I mean, it's kind of where Jokey Freddy starts.
Yeah, it came off as more of a horror comic book, almost like.
I mean, you've got a song by Dawkins. You've got kids pretending to be wizards and strong men, and I forget whatever other personas the kids have in the dream world in that one. And you know, another movie in this franchise that I don't think is as bad as a lot of people say it is the remake that came out in 2009.
You know, we haven't seen that one yet. We were going to watch that
Friday
one.
Friday the 13th?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, the Nightmare on Elm Street remake is atrocious. Other than Jackie Earle Haley as the character, it's pretty bad. But
okay, yeah, that's the one we haven't seen either.
The 2009 is the one. It's got little Sammy Winchester in it. That's
why you know what? I saw that in theater, but
did you?
Yeah,
and that might be why I liked it. I saw it with a group of friends, and I sat next. There was an older lady sitting next to me, and she commentated the whole time we were watching it, and I was having as much fun listening to her commentate
reacting to it. That's great.
Yeah, she's like, "Oh, y'all are stupid. What are you doing?"
That's why you watch the scary movies, so you can make fun of the people. Like, that's why Freddy is scarier than Jason, because Freddy's inescapable. If you fall asleep, he's got you. It doesn't matter what happens.
Yeah.
Jason, it's like zig and zag a little bit, like run a little bit faster than he does, hide better, get out of town. He's escapable. The 2009 remake came out the day before Valentine's Day, and I still don't understand the phenomenon of taking somebody that you like or love and watching a scary movie with them.
I'll explain it later.
I don't think you can explain it, because if you take me to see a scary movie, then I have to watch like hours of my favorite sitcom or something just to be able to sleep. Like, nothing romantic is happening after we watch a scary movie. It's too scary. I have to decompress.
Okay.
But I don't think it's as bad. I know a lot of fans don't like that movie, but it's a Friday the 13th movie, and Jason's pretty intimidating in it. Even though there's a plot with that there's some marijuana growing around Crystal Lake, and I don't know. I guess Jason's like guarding the pot. I don't know.
What?
Take this as a lesson, kids. If you smoke the marijuanas, then
Jason's on board with the DARE program. He wants
you
keeping
turn out
children
like
away from
Jason. Do you want
drugs.
to turn out like Jason? I don't think so.
Yeah,
That's-
but
That's what happens when you smoke 12
That
marijuanas.
just sounds like Jason's a bad DARE officer. He's just there
I
to
had
physically keep you away from it.
I had that one in the background, and you mentioned Jared whatever his name is,
Yeah.
Padalecki or
Padalecki, who plays Sam in Supernatural. But my Emily, my stepdaughter, was like, "Oh, Dean," because he was Dean on Gilmore Girls. I was like, "Yeah, they missed an opportunity in making him Dean in Supernatural because there's a Dean in there, but he's not Dean. He should have been Dean because then you could I don't know, come up with some fan theory that because he got his heart broken by Rory, he went off to fight demons."
Yeah, that would have been
Dean,
excellent. I
Dean.
might have actually watched more Supernatural that way.
If it was
both-
a loose spin-off of the Gilmore Girls.
Yeah, it was a Gilmore Girls fan fiction that just got its own TV series. That would be great.
where do they live?
They live in the Austin area. Is that what you're asking me about the actors?
No, where do the Gilmore Girls live? What
In Connecticut.
what fantasy
Rhode
town
Island?
do they live in? That looks
Yeah,
perfect.
They live in one of those rich white people
What
states
is
up
it
there in
called?
Boston.
What's the town called in Gilmore Girls? Stars Hollow.
Yeah, it's a storybook place for rich
Dean
white
and
people.
Sam come to Stars Hollow to
Oh,
clean
man.
up town.
Did you see the episode where they did it as an old monster movie where it was in black and white?
No, we have started. We got probably close to the third season and we stopped. So we are way behind on Supernatural. And it's not like we care about spoilers. We'll get around to finishing one of these days, but it's just not high on the list. I heard it's good, but it gets really monotonous after a little while. I mean,
There's so
it's
much of it. You
it's
can watch it.
basically the same episode. They go track down some sort of monster.
I liked
It's the Monster of the Week show.
I liked the first couple of seasons where they dealt with
It's
the pistol,
Scooby-Doo.
the gun, and opening the gate, and all the demons escape, and they have to go hunt them down. And I liked the urban legends and stuff like that. It was more X-Filesy, and then it just
I
kind
think
of
that's
got
why we stopped watching it because we were watching
angels and
X-Files at the same
demons
time.
and all this wild stuff, and I was just all right. I mean,
I still haven't finished the last 2 seasons of the X-Files. I just can't do it. It's it's not good.
yeah, we've seen the first 2 seasons of that too, and then we stop and go to something
we clearly
else.
have
I mean,
ADHD. We can never finish an
Yeah.
actual series
well, we're almost in with Sopranos.
unless it's The
Yeah.
Sopranos.
So, yeah, that being said, I think the 2009 remake is not bad. It's better than most of those Platinum Dune remakes Michael Bay produced. Other than I do kind of
Yeah.
enjoy the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the first remake that came out.
I was again. I worked at the theater for that one, and that was a decent remake. I enjoyed that one. The audience had a lot of fun with that one, from what I recall.
And since forth, Friday the 13th has been in, I think, a licensing rights thing.
Mhm.
I think Warner Brothers has the franchise right now, but nothing has happened. I think there was rumors of a TV show for a while, which there was a TV series in the 80s, apparently.
Yeah,
I
I
don't-
used to watch that on Sci-Fi Channel. It was late 80s, early 90s, if I recall. And then they had a not only did they have a Friday the 13th, but they had a
I had a Nightmare on
Nightmare.
Elm Street series, yeah.
Nightmare on Elm Street.
Goodness gracious.
Yeah, they were.
I mean, that stuff was popular.
Yeah, they had hotlines. They had 1-800 number, 1-900 and 1-800 numbers
1-900 numbers.
Yeah.
Goodness.
for $2 a minute. You can hear
No,
Freddie.
it had to be a scary number. $6.66 a minute.
Yeah,
There you go.
USA up all night.
But I mean, there's always trends in the horror genre, and in the 80s it was the slashers, and then in the 90s we had the self-aware slasher movies, and then in the 2000s we had torture porn. And
that is one. I'm not a big fan of the Saw movies.
me either.
Saw, or what was the other one? Hostel.
I've
Like,
never
I
even
made the
seen the
mistake-
Hostels.
I made the mistake of going to the theater for the first one, and I almost got up and walked out. Man, that torture stuff is not. I like a good horror movie, and I like a suspense. I like a good scary movie. I don't mind the gore if it's
the gore has to be cheesy enough that you can
in a cheesy way, but
definitely cheesy.
when they're torturing people like they did in Hostel and in Saw, that's a total turnoff. I can't get into that.
And then we briefly had a Japanese horror remake boom with The Ring. I don't know what's really in anymore. I think it's just if it's good, it's good.
Yeah.
If it's not, people don't go see it. I mean,
now it's supernatural stuff. You've got Isabel, and you've got the stuff
because of the Conjuring movies.
The Conjuring, the Shysters, the Warrens, Ed and Lorraine Warren, which
I know that the real people were, scam artists and con artists, but I have fun with those movies, and I enjoy Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga as a loving married couple that fight demons. It's just
I could see, like, I haven't really given them a chance. I don't know, man. Those movies just don't look interesting. Like, maybe if I sat down and gave them a chance,
I'm confused. Which movie
The Conjuring.
About the Conjuring movies. You could skip the spin-offs that they've made with these, but the main franchise I enjoy for what it is. But maybe because I was raised Catholic, got a little bit of affinity for demon possession movies.
I like those movies. Yeah. The Exorcist remake, I enjoyed it. Or not really remake. It was the beginning. That came out in 05, 06, somewhere.
Oh yeah, that's a very troubled production. I tell you, The Exorcist 3 is a good sequel.
I have not seen that since the TNT days, so I'm gonna have to go and watch it.
Good old Joe Bob. He does stuff on Shudder now.
Oh, we follow him. I keep up with what he does.
Shudder looks too scary. I can't do that.
But do we have anything else to talk about, either Mr. Jason Voorhees or the Friday the 13th franchise?
No. Yes.
Oh, go ahead.
I hope this is true because it makes sense to me. We learned watching one of those 10 things you didn't know about this film videos. That sound that you hear, that ch-ch-ch sound that Jason makes when he's stalking someone, that's supposed to be either him or his mom, and just repeating that kill him, mommy, kill him, kill her, get him, mommy. That's in her little speech at the end of the first one.
Yeah,
I had no idea that was supposed to be like a sound bite that ties into his origin story. I just thought that was like a weird spooky noise you'd hear in the woods that might like terrify you right before you're murdered in a sleeping bag like a sack of potatoes.
That's cool.
Yeah, I had no until this year, and we watched all those movies, and I was like, that's a very particular noise, but I thought it was just like spooky soundtrack sounds.
Yeah, that was cool. It's like it's kill, 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 mommy, 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 or something like that. But it's the way it's broken down.
It's just the first consonant sound.
Yeah, kill, 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 ma, 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 or something like that.
Yeah.
So it's when it's broken down, you get that creepy, like there's Jason, he's fixing to kill somebody. So yeah, that's cool.
I like that was like spooky noises you hear in the woods, probably animals, but it's definitely his mom. But it's either too gory and scary, or it's very silly. Like those are the only two kinds of moments that are in the franchise that I've
Yeah.
seen so far, but I haven't seen all of them. I'm looking forward to finishing those maybe
Yeah, we're
this year.
we're gonna finish them just so we can say that we have watched.
So we get our little film scout badges.
We can have that merit badge of we've watched this franchise. We're gonna tackle the Halloween franchise and eventually get those down, and possibly the Child's Play and stuff like that.
No, we're not.
Yeah, we are.
Child's
Yeah, we
Play.
are.
I'm not watching any Chucky
Child's
movies.
Play will be fun. Come on.
No.
If I survived a childhood with a My Buddy doll sitting on my dresser,
that was your
then-
family and your trauma. That's all yours. I don't need any from Scary Dolls. I'm good.
we'll see.
No.
Anyway, Cody, you have anything else?
I guess I finally earned my Friday the 13th merit badge by finally seeing all of the films in the franchise. It's been a while since.
Nice.
Yeah, I don't know if I should feel good or sad.
Well,
It's an accomplishment either way.
even if they're not all great, you can say, you know what? I'm that guy. I've seen every one of them, and you can't tell me otherwise. That's a good feeling. You feel good about that, Cody. Even though some of those movies sucked, and they sucked really bad, you did it. You earned it.
I just think of it as like, I don't want to talk about these movies without knowing what I'm talking about. So I have to at least sit through them one time.
Yeah. And plus,
to be able to feel like I'm
when you're
not
sitting
an
around that
imposter.
nerd circle and people are bragging like, "Oh yeah, I've seen all these. I've seen all these." And guess what? I've seen all the Jasons. I've seen all the Freddys. I've seen all the Halloweens, and so on. Yeah, there you go.
I haven't seen all the Child's Plays though.
we don't have to worry about that.
We'll
badge.
get into that.
No.
We're gonna earn that merit badge.
No.
But it's been a while since Mr. Voorhees has stormed the lakes of Camp Crystal. But I foresee that he will return at some point into the cinematic landscape. It's a franchise that has a huge fan base. People love this franchise. There are people that think this is the best horror franchise. I would say no, but if you love these movies, more power to you. You enjoy them for whatever reason. If it's because you think Jason's cool looking, if you just want to watch a slasher movie and have fun, it's more power to you. But I think he'll be back. We at least should get one more movie, so there's 13 movies in the franchise.
That's true.
That would be great.
Maybe that'll be the movie
Yeah,
that redeems all the other ones except the first one that doesn't need redeeming.
yeah, that would be clever. And release it. It'd be the 13th movie, and release it on a Friday the 13th, and it would just make heads explode if they did it right.
It would make bank. I don't know if it would make heads.
Because another franchise, another remake that I thought was decent was The Omen. And
I never saw the Omen remake with Liev Schreiber and Julia Stiles.
Yeah, it was decent. And you know what happened? They released it on, it was 6/6 of 2000.
Wasn't it June the 6th of 2006? Yeah.
Yes. And no, went to the theater. It was packed. Every seat sold out.
Marketing works.
And yeah, that marketing ploy worked because it was clever. But it was a decent remake. I liked it. And I wouldn't mind going back to rewatch it. So
I don't think I've seen any of those but the original.
well, maybe that's something we could delve into in October.
In spooky season.
Yeah, spooky
But
season.
I say the original Omen is almost as good as the original Exorcist.
Ooh, yeah, that's a good one. And that's that's not one that I have not seen that in a while. So maybe mid-September we'll take a little break in there, and then mid-September we'll crank up the horror movies.
Maybe that should be a head-to-head, The Exorcist and The Omen.
Because there's a lot.
Be a good show.
There's no way that we're going to be able to get that many. There's a
too
lot that
much
I would like
content.
to cover, So maybe mid-September we crank up Halloween season and we start getting into the scary movies. Because there's a lot that I would like to talk about. Like a lot.
Well, if you're going to make me watch that many scary movies, we're going to have a lot of nights where I don't sleep, so we can do a lot of late shows.
Yeah, so we'll be able to cover.
Well, just make sure you get whatever feel good things for Lindsay, whether it's a sitcom or a Disney show or just blankets
Golden
and
Girls.
That's
Golden
right.
Girls. Yeah.
Lots of Golden Girls.
Golden Girls and Roseanne to watch afterwards, and we're good.
Safe, slutty
so.
grandmas and somebody who reminds you of your mom. That's what I can come back from scary movies that way.
Yeah, Roseanne hits too close to home, but I can't help but watch it.
It's the original Roseanne.
The original Roseanne. Screw the new Roseanne, man. That show. Anyway.
Well, if anyone out there listens later, whether it's on YouTube or on the Facebook page, comment on what your thoughts on the franchise are and what are your favorite films, even if it's a wild one. If Part 5 is your favorite, tell us why Part 5 is your favorite. Or if you love Jason Goes to Hell, tell us why we got it wrong and why it's a masterpiece. Or if you hate these movies, tell us which slasher franchise is better. Halloween, but I'm not picking favorites here. But if you guys don't have anything else, I think we should call it a night. We're right at the hour mark, and that's pretty good to talk about 12 movies briefly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had fun. I'm glad we got to do it. And like I said, it was kind of a last minute. I was like, man, you know what? The 13th is Friday, so that calls for something. So we got to talk. Got to talk about
August. Can be over on the 13th, and we'll just swoop right into the holidays.
Yeah, let's sweep right over to September. It wouldn't hurt my feelings any.
As should the weather swoop into September, but
yes, we are.
It's hard to
so
watch
close.
Scary movies when you're already sweaty. Like that's just 10 times worse.
I am already done with my summer mood. Like at the beginning of like June, I'm kind of like, okay, I'm ready for this. I enjoy the summer movies, and I like to go swimming and stuff. But now I'm like, no, we're burning up.
Once you mow the lawn every 3 days for at least like 2 weeks, you're over summer. That's the end of summer. That's enough sunshine for the year.
You're like, man, I'm ready for the leaves to fall. I'm ready for it to become brisk, and I'm ready to be able to raise my windows. I want that cold weather to come in. I'm ready for it.
And if you are watching, please tune in tomorrow afternoon as we continue our Wes Anderson series. We'll be talking Rushmore.
Yes, we're either going to watch that tonight or probably early tomorrow. So
I'll probably watch it in the morning because
that's probably what we're going to do. So it's fresh.
I forgot what day tomorrow is, and it's Friday the 13th right now.
Yeah.
Maybe
It's
I should
Saturday
wait till
the
tomorrow to watch it.
14th. Yeah, we'll wait until tomorrow, but that seems fun. It'll be a first watch for us.
Yeah, I've never seen that one.
Oh, awesome. That's exciting. I love when people are watching something for the first time. And it's going to be the guest. Well, I think the guest had already watched it because he was on another video with me where we ranked all these movies, but he picked the movie because he had never seen it before.
Cool.
To talk about it.
And who's?
It's Justin, the guy that talked with us about The Abyss.
Yes. Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
That'll be fun. All right. So yeah, just stay tuned. What time?
Stay
tomorrow?
tuned. It'll be 2 p.m. our time.
2 p.m. Our time. Okay. Cool. And also, real quick, a plug for Wednesday. What About Bob? So if you're a Bill Murray, Richard Dreyfuss fan, you can watch along, or we'd be happy to have you join in.
Or if you really love the filmography of Frank Oz,
yes,
talk What About Bob with us.
Yes, that'll be fun.
But yes, enjoy the rest of your Friday the 13th, whether you're watching Jason or non-Jason content. And good night.
And good night.